Welcome students. We have discussed about net present value, payback period and discounted payback period. Now we will see about internal rate of return. And all these methods we have used through the spreadsheet so that our uh, um, time and energy gets saved and we get more accurate answer. And the fourth method of the payback period techniques are internal rate of return or IRR. The easiest definition of IRR is once someone asks you, can you define IRR? The easiest definition will be the IRR is the rate at which the NPV becomes zero. IRR is the rate at which the NPV becomes zero. Whatever rate will make the NPV zero will be the IRR. Say for example here, when we talked about the NPV, you see here, for example, we have taken here 5%, your NPV becomes positive. Make it 6%, NPV becomes negative. That means in between 5 and 6%, the IRR remains. Where the IRR, what is the IRR? Where the NPV becomes zero, the rate at which NPV becomes zero. Say for example 5.5%, still you have positive. Okay, let us make it 5.6, still positive. That means maybe 5.7, 5.75. See, 5.7 it was positive, 5.75 it is negative. That means the IRR is 5.71. See, this is the 2.78 is the NPV. Where the NPV becomes zero, that is the IRR. IRR is the rate at which NPV becomes zero. So that is the way we calculate. For example, 5.711. Yeah, this is zero. Here it is zero. For example, yeah, NPV becomes zero. So what is the IRR? The IRR of the project is, this is the IRR. Why this is the IRR? This rate, the NPV becomes zero. The rate at which NPV becomes zero is the IRR. That is the definition of, simple definition of an IRR. IRR is the discount rate at which your NPV becomes zero. What is the, and we have seen how to do it. Minimum acceptance criteria is project with highest IRR is more preferred, except if the IRR exceed the required return. Here, for example, your required return is 5%. For example, your required return is, say, 5%. Your IRR is 5.71%, except if your required return is 3% and your IRR is 5.71, except if your required return is 10% or maybe 12% and your IRR is 5.71, reject. Why? Because you can put here a if statement, if the logical test. What is the logical test? If IRR is greater than, if IRR is greater than the cost of capital, accept. Or else reject. Enter. See, automatically it will give you reject. For example, you make it 4%, accept. Why? Because your IRR is 5.7, which is greater than the required rate of return, 4%, therefore accept. If it is 12% reject because required rate of return is more than IRR. IRR is less than required return. So you reject the project. Ranking criteria, select alternative with the highest IRR. The highest IRR is always better. If IRR is greater than the required return, accept. And more the IRR greater, better the project is. Therefore, criteria is select the alternative with the highest IRR. One is having 10%, the other one is 15%. Preferred is 15% IRR. One is 15, another 20. Preferred is 20% IRR. One is 20, the other one 25. Preferred is 25%. Reinvestment assumption, all future cash flows are assumed to be reinvested at the IRR. That's why the assumption we make here is whatever the IRR we got, 5.71 is the IRR. We assume that our cash inflows are reinvested at this rate. So this the reinvestment rate is the internal rate of return. This is what the assumption is. Disadvantage, does not distinguish between investing and borrowing. IRR may not, you see, it is again an issue. Borrowing rate and investment rates are not distinguished. If you distinguish, you will have MIRR, modified internal rate of return. I will explain you once we finish the disadvantage and advantage. I'll explain you. IRR may not exist, or there may be multiple IRRs. Sometimes there may not be any IRR. Sometimes there may be multiple IRRs. I will show you how. May not exist, or there may be multiple. Both situations I'll explain you. Problems with mutually exclusive investments. If you have investments which are mutually exclusive to each other, if, for example, A and B, project A, project B, if they are mutually exclusive, accept A, reject automatically B. Accept B, reject automatically project A. One accepted, the other automatically rejected. Is called mutually exclusive investments. If 5 investments A, B, C, D, E are there, and they are mutually exclusive to each other, if A is accepted, automatically B, C, D, E rejected. If E is accepted, A, B, C, D rejected. In that case, IRR might not work because here the IRR of 2 or 3 projects might be greater than the cost of capital. Still, because they are mutually exclusive, you take only one, so others are getting rejected. Advantage, easy to understand and communicate. How? Let me explain you with spreadsheet. Here is the IRR. Same kind of example. The initial investment is 30,000 minus 8, 10, 11, 17 and 12, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. IRR to be calculated. It's very easy. How? IRR. There is no cutoff rate, nothing you have to calculate. That's why IRR, straight the all cash outflow and inflow. Select. Enter. IRR coming. So it's very easy to calculate the IRR. Straight you use the IRR function. All the cash inflows and outflows you put in the range, you will get the IRR. But there may be, for example, cash flows which are not in regular interval, like NPV. Here also the same question. IRR to be calculated with irregular cash inflows and outflows, like one in August, the other in March, again in November, again in June. So they are not yearly. They are not evenly distributed in timing. In the timeline, they are unevenly distributed. Then is equal to XIRR. X like XNPV, same like XIRR. Enter. Values, give all the values, comma, dates, give all the dates, give all the dates from here to here, enter. That is when the cash flows are not evenly distributed. Now we will see reinvestment rate will be given to you and borrowing rates will be given to you. For example, borrowing rate is equal to 10%, and reinvestment rate 12%. In this case, you need to calculate the MIRR, modified internal rate of return. The disadvantage of internal rate of return, we discussed that there is no discrimination between borrowing rate and reinvestment rate. In this case, all the values from that year 0 to year 5, financing rate or borrowing rate is equal to 10%, reinvestment rate is equal to 12%, enter. This will be giving you the MIRR. Always give with 2 percentages, 2 decimals. So MIRR will give you the when there will be reinvestment or and borrowing rates are different, you can calculate MIRR, not IRR. IRR, it is not discriminating. So borrowing rate means financing rate or borrowing rate, both are same. Financing or borrowing rate. So this is the way we have seen the disadvantage does not distinguish between investing and borrowing. We have once we give the distinction, then we calculate the modified internal rate of return. Similarly, we calculated the internal rate of return when the cash flows are not evenly distributed. Now the second question, IRR may not exist or there may be multiple IRRs. Let us see how it happens. For example, here you see I will take one cash outflow. The initial cash outflow is always negative. Further cash inflows are positive. Then you get the IRR. Now I will calculate, for example, in this project, the last year cash outflow is there. Last year cash outflow is there. That means what happened? There are, in the cash inflow, there are positive cash inflows and negative cash inflows are there. First year 8,000, 10,000, second year 11, third year 17, fourth. And in the fifth year, the company has to spend 12,000 for shutting down. So project closure expenses or shutdown expenses. So here, uneven cash flows. The cash inflows are 4 years are inflows and fifth year again outflow. So cash inflow, inflow, haphazard manner if it is there. You see now, there is one IRR is 6.31. Another IRR will be here. IRR, multiple IRR, we just said. Multiple IRR is equal to, calculate the values. And guess minus 0.99 means 99%. Enter. See? One IRR is 6.31%, the other IRR is 50%. So the IRR ranges from negative to positive because there are cash inflow positive for 1 to 4 years and in the fifth year again cash outflow. It's not only inflow. Normally what happens? Normally it happens your one cash outflow in the beginning, 0 year, that is minus 30,000, outflow is always minus. Then cash inflows. Then you will have IRR only 1. See, for example, I will change here. This one, I will take this minus off. See now? See, here, 24.01, 24.01. With gas also, 99% gas also, I got only one IRR. Any guess I make also, it will be 24 only. Why? Because there is one cash outflow, rest all cash inflows. 8, 10, 11, 17, 12, all are inflows. Then there will be only one IRR. But if there is, in between there is a cash outflow negative, one cash outflow in the beginning, then inflows, Year 1, 2, 3, 4, again outflow year 5. Then there will be multiple IRRs. Say for example, there might not be any IRR. How? Let me take another one minus. For example, second year also I will take minus. See, no IRR. Can you see here? With 3 outflows and 3 inflows. 8,000, 11,000, 17,000 are the inflows, 30,000 minus, 10,000 minus, 12,000 minus. So the outflows and inflows are in a zigzag, they are following each other, like first outflow, then inflow, then outflow, then inflow, outflow. In that case, there might not be any IRR. That's what the theory was saying you. IRR may not exist, or there may be multiple IRRs. This is the disadvantage. And in these cases, but NPV, very clear. If you have NPV, for example, NPV, here, take one cutoff rate. Our cutoff rate was 12%. In the NPV case, we have seen 12%. Take the NPV is equal to NPV, rate of cost of capital, comma, the future cash flows, close, plus initial cash outflow. Enter. 19,004. And this also same will be is equal to NPV. The same amount should come. See, rate 12%, no multiple NPVs. Then cash flows in future plus cash outflow in the beginning. Enter. Only one will be there. There will not be multiple. There will not be any multiple. There will be only one NPV. NPV is better in that case. Whether it is positive, negative, whatever the pattern of the cash flow, no issue. NPV will come as a number and single. But IRR, if there is only one outflow, further inflows, you will get the IRR only one. Say for example, now I will make 10,000 positive, this 12,000 also positive, all cash positives, inflows, only initial outflow. Then your IRR is the only one IRR. But if there is one outflow, then inflow, then again outflow, then you will have multiple IRRs. So it is problem. It is not scientific. It is not justified also. How can a project will give you multiple IRRs? And which one you will take into account? That's why IRR becomes failure in that aspect. Problems with mutually exclusive events we discussed. Easy to understand, communicate, we have understood. So here the author has given 2-3 examples. Initial cash outflow is 200 minus 50, 100, 150. The initial cash outflow is how much? Minus 200. Then the cash inflows are 50, 100 and 150. 50, 100 and 150. You can calculate the IRR, click there, and the whole range of cash flows, enter. 19% is the IRR. Say for example, there is a financing rate and there is a reinvestment rate, then you have to calculate the MIRR is equal to MIRR, modified internal rate of return. It's asking the values, put the values, comma, it's asking the financing rate, 10%. It's asking the reinvestment rate, 12%. Enter. It will give you the MIRR. And always when the spreadsheet, use some 2 decimals when you are calculating the IRR. Because IRR should not be rounded up. At least it should be 2 decimal. So next is, so the IRR. Manually, how you calculate? Define the IRR. The first definition we have seen for IRR. What is IRR? IRR is nothing but the rate at which the NPV becomes 0. So NPV 0 is equal to minus 200 initial investment plus 50 divided by 1 plus IRR is the first year plus 100 divided by 1 plus IRR square second year plus 150 divided by 1 plus IRR, 3 third year. So the equivalent rate will be the IRR through trial and error. When 15-20 years before, IRR was calculated like this. Mathematically, we just calculating the rate using the trial and error method or mathematical interpolation. But today, you need not do so much of calculations. Excel makes all calculations for you. So payoff profile, a different, you see, when we increase the rate, the NPV becomes negative. See here, at 0%, NPV was 100. At 4%, NPV becomes 73. 8%, 51. 12%, 31. 16%, 13. 20% minus 2. I explained you through spreadsheet here. If you remember, we have explained this example in this 5.1, I think. You see here 5.71. Here I explained you, like if you are taking 5%, your NPV is 2209. If you are taking 4%, NPV is 5441. If you are taking 3%, NPV is 8000 because NPV rate less, NPV more. If you take 2%, it will be 12,375. If it is 1%, 16,096. If it is 0%, 20,000 NPV. That means the more the less the discount rate, more the NPV. More the discount rate, less the NPV. 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. Now 6% it will be negative. 7% it is negative. Same here, it is being shown here. The NPV of a project, which we have discussed in the previous example, the cash flows are given here 0, 50, 100, 150. And the rates are being given, different rates are given here. 0%, the NPV is 100, then 4, 8, 12, 16. 100 reduced to 73.88, 51.11, 31.13, 13.52, then it became negative. Then the more you increasing the rate, 20, 24, 28, 32, the NPV is becoming more and more negative. Calculating the IRR in a spreadsheet, I explained you, and I explained you IRR and MIRR. And IRR, multiple IRRs, no IRRs. All these things we have discussed in the spreadsheet. Problems with IRR, there are multiple IRRs. When multiple IRRs are there, now I think this will not be a kind of confusion or doubt for you. When the cash flow in future are followed by different signs, minus plus, plus minus, like that. Normally what happens, initial cash outflow is minus, then all cash inflows are plus. You get IRR single, only one IRR. We have seen here. If it is, here we have seen here that if the 30,000 is minus initial cash outflow, then all cash inflows are positive. Then only one IRR. 24, 24 in two cases, one without guess I calculated, the second with guess I calculated. Whatever the guess I take, no matter, the same IRR will be there. 99 I have taken, you can take 100 also, same. You can take 200 also, or 199 also you take the guess, the same answer will be there. Why? Because one cash outflow followed by cash inflows, no sign change in between. But if I make one cash outflow, then 4 cash inflows, again cash outflow last year, sign change minus, see, here, what happens? One positive, here for example, if I guess it, one is 6.31, one is 50.21. Because there are sign changes in the cash inflows. In the cash flow, sign change is there in between. there are multiple IRRs are there. And sometime there will be no IRR. For example, there will not be any IRR. So these are the situations normally occurs in when there are multiple IRRs will be there, when there is sign change in the cash flows. Minus plus, inflow, outflow, inflow, outflow. Are we borrowing or lending? There is no, normally we assume that all the cash inflows are reinvested at the particular rate or the IRR rate. But if the borrowing rate and reinvestment rates are different, then IRR will not solve the purpose. You have to calculate MIRR, modified internal rate of return. We have seen that also. Scale problem. Scale problem means for example, 50% return on $1 is less than 50% return on $1 is less than 10% return on $100. 50% return on $1 is equal to 50 cents. 10% return on $100 is equal to $10, which is higher than 50% return on $1. But IRR, simply if you are taking IRR, the rate of return you are seeing, no other thing you are seeing. High internal rate of return, better. So scale, when the investments are having different scale, might be IRR will not answer it. Timing problem. When there are different timings, cash flows are there. One project gives one cash outflow, 3 cash inflows. Another project, 1 cash outflow, 5 cash inflows. IRR might be giving different answer than the NPV. Mutually exclusive versus independent. Independent means taking one project will not cancel the other projects. They are independent to each other. Project A, project B. If they are independent, you can take project A also, you can take project B also. No problem. But if project A and project B are mutually exclusive, if you accept A, B will be rejected. If you accept B, A will reject it. So, mutually exclusive means one project accepted, other projects are automatically rejected. Independent projects means maybe all projects accepted, maybe all projects rejected. So here is there are 2 IRRs for this project, you see, minus 200. I have explained this to you. Again, another question is here, 200, 200, 800, 800, for example. You will have multiple IRRs. You can see 200, 200, 800, if you calculate the IRR, one is 0, the other you can calculate IRR. Okay, from here to here, comma, you can put a guessing 99%, enter, because $200, here it is coming to 800. Not taking it. Okay. But maybe 200, you can take 300. And 500. Say there are no IRR existing. And for example, 700. IRR, and here IRR, here to here 0. minus 0.99. Now get it? It's coming same, but it should somewhere something is stopping this. But it should be, because there are minimum number of cash flows, you can increase the cash flows to some more, maybe 500, 600, okay, and these are the numbers. You can put it in a number format, maybe that's why. Okay, now this is equal to, okay, enter, fine, and here you see one is 24, one is 125. So here also we can here take this, it will come same. See, now that was different. One guess, one without guess. So guess is talking about what? The cash flows of different periods are taking a different sign, plus minus. Here, for example, one came 0%, the other came 100%. So this is a problem. And in the previous example, we have seen another example here in this. For example, there is no IRR in this case. Here 125, 24. Here, for example, 6.31, 50.21. Three examples we have seen with different sign changes. And modified IRR, MIRR, we have calculated. When we are calculating MIRR, what we do? We take the in reinvestment rate and financing rate, and we calculate the IRR. Just a minute, let me make it all positive, and MIRR is calculated here. How we calculate it? The cash flows, the financing rate, and reinvestment rate. That will give you more authentic internal rate of return, because here we calculate the reinvestment rate also, financing rate also. Considering both of them, we calculate the internal rate of return, which is known as modified internal rate of return. Benefit is single answer and specific rates for borrowing and reinvestment. Scale problem, I explained you 100% or 50%. IRR will say 100%. If you have two projects, one is giving 100, the other one is giving 50, IRR will say 100% is better than 50%. But now, the 100% return is on $1, 50% return on $1,000. Now you see, 100% return of $1 is equal to $1. 50% return of $1,000 is equal to $500. So in this case, 50% is better than the 100%. If we see the scale, IRR might be failing to answer the right project. Same timing problem. One project having 10,000 outflow, then 10,000, 1,000, 1,000 are the 3 years cash inflow. Another project minus 10,000, same outflow, but the timing is in the project 1, first you are getting how much you spent in the 0 year, you are getting in the first year. Second one, you are getting more cash inflow, 12,000, 1,000 first year, 1,000 second year, 12,000 third year. Total you are getting 14,000. Project A, you are spending 10, but you are getting 10 first year, 12,000 total. So which one should be considered? If you see the IRR of A is 16.04, you can see the IRR of A. Total cash inflow of A is less than cash inflow of B. But timing, The timing says the IRR of A is better than IRR of B. Why? Because of the cash inflows of A is more cash flows in the beginning, less cash flows in the end of the project. Project B, less cash flow in the beginning, more at the end. Therefore, time value of money once you consider, project A is better than project B. And the last part of this IRR is crossover rate. What is crossover rate? If you have two projects here, project A, project B. Project A, what is the cash flow pattern? You spend 10,000 and you get 10,000 first year, 1,000 second year, 1,000 third year. Project B, 10,000 you spend now, 1,000 first year, 1,000 second year, 12,000 third year. So you calculate the crossover rate because you are not sure which one is better, because the total cash inflows of B is better than A. Total cash inflows of B is 14,000. Total cash inflows of A is 12,000. But IRR of A is better than IRR of B. Confused. Then what you will do? Calculate the crossover rate. How to calculate the crossover rate? One project to be deducted from the another project. So do it. Project A minus B, first we will do. So 10,000 minus 10,000 is equal to 0. First year project A gives 10, project B gives 1. So 10 minus 1 is equal to 9. Second year A gives 1, B gives 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. Third year A gives 1, B gives 12. So A minus B is minus 11. Or you can make B minus A. First year project A 10, project B 10 in the initial. So 0. First year project A gives 10, project B gives 1. So 1 minus 10 is minus 9,000. Second year A gives 1, B gives 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0. Third year A gives 1, B gives 12. So 12 minus 1 is 11. Either you do A minus B or B minus A. Then you use the NPV or IRR. That is called crossover rate. IRR of the crossover rate is 10.55. Compare with your required rate of return. If IRR is better than that, accept or reject. This is the way we calculate if there are multiple projects, we calculate like this. NPV versus IRR, when there are question comes, which one is better, NPV or IRR? It is always blindly you can say NPV is better than IRR. If both are there, which one is preferred? NPV is preferred. Non-conventional cash flows, normally NPV, IRR give the same answer, identical same answer. But sometime there will be different answer. When non-conventional cash flow signs change. I have shown you plus minus, then all plus, then NPV IRR gives you the same decision. NPV positive, IRR is better than the required rate of return. So accept the project, here also accept, here also accept. But if there is sign change, sometime there is a sign change, then NPV gives minus, but the IRR sometimes gives different answer. So in that case, what you will do? You will follow the NPV. Mutually exclusive projects. One accepted means the others automatically rejected. Highest NPV should be taken into account. IRR will not be the first criteria. The criteria of acceptance should be NPV method. Initial investments are substantially different. Timing of cash flow is substantially different. So before profitability index, let me stop the recording here, just a minute.